Does that make sense?
Maybe.
You're the knight.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I
Chapter
get,
3 takes place in your house.
get that.
And Toriel probably will be someone you, I would imagine, have to rescue.
I just. Oi, 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 oi. Ugh.
Alright,
Ugh. Ugh.
so,
Oh, I have several feelings.
yeah, no, that's my immediate answer to it was I have so many emotions and nowhere to put them all. So the first thing about it that I would say is
I'm
I'm
angry.
glad that the knife wasn't being used for what I feared the knife would be used.
Same. I mean,
Two, I have a feeling this has something to do with the occult situation, about the fact that you once studied in the occult. And that's part of why perhaps in some ritual you separated your soul from your body.
with that, I felt a bit of fear and anger
Yeah.
there.
No, that makes sense. Still not sold on the ending not being a night red herring, but that's just me. No.
It could be. but
I feel like it could be, but so
just ever since I saw Queen's outline with the knife, I'm thinking, aha.
yeah. So my speculation
Knives are very symbolic.
from start to here and where I think it's going forward is actually just thinking about this now. I have a feeling that the carnival will be day 5, which leads to the cliffhanger that leads to the end, which will be chapter 6 and 7 as a separate game, which they've already talked about will be. I feel the last chapter will take place on college summer break.
You're looking way.
The reason I
way
say
too
that
far.
is because if you look at the things that have happened through the story, some of the most common recurring things are your character seems very, very hopeful for Azrael to come back. And I really think that playing off of what happened with Kara and Azrael in Undertale, what is happening is it's leading the red herring of you're wanting Azrael to come back because you miss your brother, or you want to use your brother as a ritual sacrifice to create a fountain. And the story is of everyone rescued. And the reason I say that is because after a long discussion I had with some people before, I came up with the hypothesis that you are not the main character of the game. And the reason I say that is because I believe Noelle is the main character of the game.
Huh?
And it comes from that chapter 1 takes place before the game starts, and it is you establishing relationships that creates the NPC characters for Noelle's experience in this game. And I say that because if you look at the way that Noelle interacts with things throughout chapter 2, you teach her how battles work during one point in the game. She has the largest character arc of development. She overcomes a fear at one point. She discovers that she has the bravery to voice her relationship desires and opinions with the character who she cares for. She's the most powerful character according to the queen, who seems to see something you don't, and it's later discussed that that thing seems to be determination or willpower, meaning that she has higher will perhaps than you do. She's the only one who can kill any enemies in the game, and is the only way you can have the genocide route take hold. There is no genocide route in the first game because none of the characters have the ultimate control. When you control her at any point in the game, she seems like she's confused because she doesn't understand how these actions are taking place when she's not picking the actions, which means you, playing the main character, are now controlling her body because she has the highest determination and willpower. And so I believe that the idea is actually that Noelle is the main character, and that the final stories will have something to do with her sister December, who I do believe passed away in some sort of incident.
Yeah.
Because it's heavily implied that she's gone and not coming back, and that there's a lot of regret and remorse, all the way going back to when she goes to the spelling bee.
Right.
She's nervous, she can't finish spelling December. Her thoughts seem to reference December. The search results seem to have something dark and depressing that your character doesn't want to refer to, and the queen seems to be very remorseful about the situation that Noelle has. Also, if you look at a lot of the things relating to Azriel, you don't even want to acknowledge his existence.
Right,
Yet for some
when we were in this
reason,
room, we closed our eyes.
yeah. Yet for some reason, you want to know when he's coming back. And that's why I think that Chris, or the character that has become the occult possession of Chris, depending on which route you choose in the game, wants to bring him back to sacrifice him for some evil deed. And the genocide route is you going and sacrificing your brother. And the good route is the characters around you establishing friendships that have you overcome this villainy and dispel this occult curse, whatever it is. I also believe that at some point, perhaps in the story, the door will open and release the humans, causing basically a reversal of what happens in Undertale, leading to a fight, but the Darkners may have some different influence. I think everything is implying that there's a lot going to happen that's already had things said in this, because even between this and the previous one, there's plenty of things that kind of tie from one to the other, even if you apparently don't have any history from the first gen. But my biggest opinion after thinking really hard on this is that you are not the main character, or at least that Chris is not the main character.
The possibility. Again, thing with Chris is that back in Undertale, there was a sort of meta relation between Chris, Kara, and you.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to figure out how that is.
Well, that goes again to the thing about Undertale is it's the friendly RPG where no one has to die, where you are in control of the fate of everything. Hi, Izzy.
And I'm doing brain thinking, but it's not working.
But in this one, I still remember from day one when the first chapter came out, the very first thing it has you do when you create an account or a character, it says, this is not a game about choice. And by agreeing to play this game, you acknowledge that you do not have choice or something like that. It specifically says that point blank at the beginning.
Right.
And I think that's because you are not the main character. Because in chapter 1, the decisions are made for you. In chapter 2, when Noelle appears, you're the one who can go down the evil route.
Or you could push her down.
But that's what I mean. I think you are influencing the main character, who is Noelle, not Chris. And in Chris being in chapter 1, there isn't technically the main character. And so I obviously know that it's a long shot hypothesis, but that's my speculation so far. I was really upset at the bathroom scene, but when it came time for the end, I felt like at least I understood what was happening there. And that I still feel like, especially after thinking on it and knowing it was coming up this time, it gave me a lot of time to think about the things happening, that they're trying to set it up to demonstrate this isn't a Lisa game where there's no positive ending, because it's dark at the last second in each of these. But I don't think they want you to think that no matter what you do, the end's gonna got you and it's hopeless. Because you don't attack anybody, you create a fountain. And that's a big difference, because it can be redeemed, and it's clear that when your soul is part of your body, that you're willing to close those same fountains. Meaning that whatever I'm guessing...
There's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, what I'm guessing is that the occult ritual, or whatever it was, that split your soul from your body, the soulless version of a human can create these fountains. And so you are not necessarily both the hero and the villain, so much as, since Chris isn't the main character, Chris is both a villain or an ally, and Noelle is the hero. And so far, of all of the things that I've thought of and interpreted, that seems like the most plausible thing I've heard. I've seen little bits of discussion. I haven't gone into it much because I've wanted to wait until you got here.
So, after the bathroom scene, the first thing I did, you didn't remember what it was, right?
No. You mean the character or you personally?
Me.
About saying you were angry?
The next action I took in the. Well,
Going out the door?
no. I opened the menu.
Oh, yeah, to see if you could control
No.
or check anything?
Check my level.
Oh, was it 3?
It was 1.
Oh, it's back to 1 again?
Yeah.
That's unusual, too, because it was chapter 2. You were level 2 at the very beginning.
Right. And following Undertale logic, that has implications.
Maybe you absolved yourself of a sin?
You're level 1 at the end of chapter 1, level 2 at the beginning of chapter 2.
One level.
Does that mean we killed somebody?
It could mean that, or perhaps the level here on out is tied to how many fountains there are. And we were level 1 as soon as we closed the fountain.
Right.
Yeah.
That was on the fact that level might mean something completely different.
It could. I have a feeling, though, that it has at least a similar implication in the game. If it's not so much that you kill something and you got execution points, so much as you committed some grave sin.
There's also the question of you're level 2 in this game. But are you level 2 before you enter the dark world?
Yeah, I think that someone I was talking to said they went and checked after I asked that question and restarted, and they hadn't even gone into the dark world. So they were level 2.
But yeah, no, I checked. For level 2, it was 1. And
False level in the code.
Mean nothing? I can't. That's impossible. That was my question. What the hell is Ralsei?
I have a feeling, in a sense, at least one of there are a couple different ideas I have. One is, before I came up with the idea that your desire is to sacrifice Asriel when he comes back on summer break, was that it was your desires to see your brother because it seems emotionally tied to you, and that he can leave the dark world. Hello? Okay. He can go to other dark worlds without having an issue. And I don't know whether it's royalty, which is a possibility, or if it's the idea that it's inherently linked to you as a person, in which case it could be some internal desires, or that,
I can't believe he doesn't have some tie with Asriel.
or
It has to.
that because we don't know, and it still does talk like maybe something bad has already happened. It could be that in the occult things before, that Asriel in some way has already tied his soul with yours, as per in Undertale. And that since you're sharing the same body, when you're in the dark world, you always have had your soul so far. And so you're both there.
Because the whole Kara thing never happens.
No.
It also never happens while you're being served.
Directly, no. You can have obviously someone around,
But you're not
but
being
they're not
observed.
watching. Yeah. And that could just be depending on how much control it has. It could be that as it gets stronger, you could lash out at people while you're around. There could be plenty of things.
Why did it slash the tires? That doesn't seem to have anything to do with its agenda. Is it just a force of malice?
It could have been a force of malice in that case. Again, if it's Kara, Kara has at least, depending on your interpretation of Kara, my personal interpretation is that Kara is the symbolism of the true desire for doing everything at all costs.
Which I guess could be.
Which is malicious. Whereas some people see Kara as a corrupted individual who was possibly nice. I don't subscribe to that so much. What? Oh yeah, the conversation that you two have when you're doing the Susie stuff. You don't know that, and you also don't know any of the conversations that Susie and Rousey have besides learning sarcasm and learning healing.
Right, there might not be any to it.
And the other thing with that is that also goes back to you not necessarily being the main character, because clear events that you can see are happening outside of your control moving forward. Whereas in most games, when there's some sort of event, they just kind of pop up and appear after it's already happened. It just seems common in RPGs. You don't usually see parallel events happening.
I guess I don't think it has anything to do with who is or isn't the main character.
It's the same thing in Chapter 1. I don't remember what happened in Chapter 1 well enough. That's kind of why I want to go back, but he seems staunch against doing that much extra game. Let's think about Susie. And when we come back, he's saying, and so that's why both times. All in all, let's see. So they're clearly having a conversation, presumably about the same thing. I really feel like there is a lot more hinting going on. I don't think it's FNAF conspiracy theory bullshit kind of thing to interpret that there's a lot going on that is just written in later. I think that there is a clear intention, just based on the fact that I didn't hear theories relating to some of the stuff that comes up in Chapter 2 from anyone, so I don't think it's he read it and then adopted it. I think that I have a feeling that he's at least written through to Chapter 5 by the time he mentioned there was a Chapter 5.
He
knows that he has an intention of going to 7 chapters.
He has at least some flow chart in his mind.
Yeah. And
he probably hasn't filled out all the details.
Yeah.
There's no need to fill out all the details.
I'm guessing that things he already knows are confidently set in stone. He's trying to allude to as early as possible so people can get a fuller picture and not feel like it's 7 different games, to feel like it's cohesive. And so I feel like there's a lot of things that might seem innocuous now that will be important later. And things that have happened now are already trying to imply the future of the story. I really feel like... Well, so here's another thing. Once Noelle comes into the plot, there's a lot of times where she's the focal point of any event when the group is together. When Noelle is a playable character and on your team, is obviously following your route and not their route. The only time you think about someone else's route, it focuses on Noelle first, not on Susie.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if that's also kind of implying that Noelle could be more central.
I don't think that... I feel that's grasping a bit.
It might be. And again, like I said, there's a chance that that's a 1,000,000% wrong thing. But I feel like...
the possibility is there.
I feel like the possibility is there. And I will say, I could see someone writing a fan fiction where that's absolutely the story, because I think it could be a really good story, even if that's not what happened.
The fact that only Noelle can kill is what really drives home that there's more to her.
Yes.
That you can't is surprising.
Yeah, no, you can't hurt any enemy. Only the ice attacks in the game can. And Noelle's the only one who learns ice attacks.
It is so weird.
Yep. And so that's the more and more I was learning about kind of where things had gone, especially. I didn't put much merit into the idea in Undertale that you need the genocide route to inform the story of any other route. I feel like it gives more depth to some of the characters,
Mostly
but
Stan.
and Undying
Well, no, actually,
and
most
Albus.
of them. Yeah.
I was gonna say no. It definitely gives a lot of depth to all the characters, but I don't feel like it's plot important.
The only revelations from it are it helps shine light on the nature and existence of Kara.
Of Kara, of killing, of level, of experience, all those kinds of things.
Which
it does.
In the Passage Route, Sans will still explain that.
I guess that's true. But in this, my opinions before and after learning that Noelle could kill and you couldn't were very, very significant. Learning that she's the one who does the killing, that's kind of where I started going, maybe you're not the main character.
Right, I was thinking that, it's just, I guess anyone can just use the fight and such.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because that also means Susie can, and she's the most violent of the characters.
Alright, so
In fact, I don't think anytime Susie's in your party can you do any killing.
So it's not a true genocide.
No, you have to engage in genocide from the second you can to the second you can't, basically. Her out specifically because she can freeze the... Yes, but that's why I'm saying. I think that that's a ludonarrative caveat being used to imply that it's just because you don't have power, whereas in reality it's because she's the only one who can kill. She's the only one with the willpower or the determination to kill. It's just that they're doing her magic is the tool as the way to veil.
So she will not do it if Susie's present?
She's never in your party at the same time as Susie in a combative role. There's a few times where you're all on the team, but there's no enemies, and there's always only 3 people.
Oh yeah, she's with you with Rouse.
I don't even think she's on you with
one
Rouse.
point.
No, she follows you with other people on the team, but I don't think you're.
I don't in battle at least once.
Well, yeah, and he already knows who the last one is.
Last what?
It's the big point of the final spell.
Oh.
She learns his fate. Yeah, and so in Snowgrave you freeze him solid in place, and the dialogue, for as short as it is, they managed to fit a couple things that function as double meaning to me, and it's really impactful for how little dialogue there is. The main thing that takes away is at one point she says, "I don't feel so well after seeing it," but I can't tell because of the fact if she's already corrupted that she doesn't feel so well because the spell was so strong and exhausted her, or whether she doesn't feel so well because she's already so guilty from what just happened.
I mean, I'd say that sounds... That would assume is that she's not... What just happened isn't sitting well with her.
Yeah. And the other reason, again, that I feel like there's some merit to the idea that you're not the main... Oh, yeah, because when you're knocked out, your character's disabled and has negative hit points.
But
they
get better
go back.
5.
Yeah.
And
so that's what he's talking about. But really giving the thing to me, the biggest things that give credence to the idea that Noelle's the main character and not Chris are the fact that she's the only one who can kill him. The fact that she seems to be the focal most important character by the way this is mentioned. The fact that really a lot of the plot of this is more about her than any of the characters mostly in the party. And there was another big one I was thinking and then read that thing. But yeah, I really think it lends a lot of credence to the idea that
You gain experience.
um,
I'm really wondering what the hell level even means. Why it would go down.
well, especially if it's false levels, and there might be another thing that's being implied by it.
Is there a real level? If there is, what's a false level? What is
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is we already know from how Undertale and even some games that came before it, like something like I'm Scared, the game could be playing you. And the false level is literally just there as a projection of numbers and is there to mess with your head. And whatever is being tracked as a level or whatever. Yeah. Or even the idea that there may not be a level in the game because it's not functionally relevant to this game.
I can settle for this much.
But yeah, I definitely think that there's at least a possibility that that's the route.
I mean,
It's definitely, of all the different things I've tried to analyze since I completed, it's the one that has stuck with me and I felt the most confident about. Like I said, at one point I thought about maybe it was the idea that because it specifically mentions when summer break is and things like that, maybe it's just that you miss Asriel, or that something bad happened to Asriel and the game's really dancing around it, which is another possibility. And there's the idea of be up in a minute. Okay.
wait, it's 10 minutes?
Yeah. It's dinner time.
Oh, that's
Yeah, we will be back. Yeah, we're gonna eat. We'll be back. I will talk more after this, and then we'll go into. I have a couple ideas for a game, but he might also have a different idea for a game, so we'll see what happens. So, talk to you in a little bit. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day, afternoon, morning, or wherever you are. We'll see you again real soon, and take care.
Oh, we have an outro.
Yeah, and that's.
Yeah, look into that.
Yeah, I really want to go through, but I want to go through from the beginning, and that's the problem.